Finally got some action, so let's make a new video as promised. So I will try to keep it a bit shorter, or at least not make it too long, but once I start yapping, it often keeps going and I lose sight of time. But let's get into it. What we had was this last week that we were consolidating here, then we broke down, and then for this whole week we were trading within our weekend lows right here, and then our Monday's low we have been watching, and our Tuesday high we have been watching, which were our weekly high and weekly low. And as discussed multiple times in the stream each day this week, I said that it is important to look at what our weekly low and weekly high is, because statistic wise, once you take out one of the two, the other side becomes very strong. So basically we have been waiting for those levels, and since when was it that we broke down here? Wednesday, I said if we had this 1 hour uptrend right here, and once we started breaking down here, I said that this high became likely to hold, and that the move towards this low was the most likely outcome, and that if this low would break, that this weekly high became very strong, and that we could aim for lower targets. So what eventually happened is that we yesterday had that scam pump on the New York Open. Then we also put in a strong New York session high. We broke structure here, got a little retrace, and then sold off heavily. And it's actually crazy to see where we exactly came into, because I've been mentioning if we take out our weekly low, then we would aim for the lower pivot section, and if we would take out our high, then we would aim for the higher. So let's see at the pivot zones, weekly right here. I said if we will take out this weekly low, then a move at least towards the weekly P2 zone would be likely. Well, we said that exactly aligned with taking out this liquidity, and this liquidity, and that this one aligned with taking out all the liquidity and exactly tapping into that weekly P2 zone. And look where price bounced from, exactly from that level. It's a beauty of art, if you ask me, and that's the power of the statistics. So now the question that we took out this liquidity and we tapped into a higher time frame imbalance right here. The question is what's next? So let's quickly just go to this chart. I've made it a pretty simple chart. We have our downtrend right here that could continue right here, and then that's also what I'm expecting, is that we either take out the low, which is likely because it's not too strong of a low, and then what I'm hope is that we form kind of a range here, break the trend line. And I never use trend lines, I don't like them, but when a trend line aligns with other aspects, which is here this start of the strong move down, so we have supply aligning here with our FIB retracement. If you pull your FIB from this high to this low, this is our the golden pocket, or however you want to name it. So then it's aligning, and here we clearly see that we have one rejection, this is second rejection, third rejection. So what is likely, to me at least, is that we will soon here see weakness, and then continue lower, take out our low, and then I'm interested to look for accumulations. And then what often happens is that on the fourth tap of a obvious trend line, you get actually the breakout. So I'm still leaning towards that being the case. However, that's all just planning, because if we go lower here and we don't form a range, which means that we will hold around here, but we nuke lower, then the plan changes, of course. So we can only pre-plan and then act if we get confirmations. But overall, I think this move is mostly like a lot of people got liquidated here, and then you often get a relief bounce. People that have lost money, that either were in longs or did not short it, are emotional. Now they missed the short. Here they feel like they missed the long. now they feel, oh, I need to take the short, or I need to make it back, or whatever. They get emotional, so they will take trades with this tight stop loss, high leverage, and they get fucked over. What most of the times happens is that you, after a strong move down, you get that relief, and then you get down, and then you start forming a range, and that's what we want to play, because ranges give us clear triggers. So for Bitcoin, what I'm eyeing is that I'm looking for rejection here, but I need clean triggers, maybe something like this, and then in alignment with a strong New York high, and then a break of structure. Then you can actually take a short with this being your invalidation, or you can be safe and then use that as your invalidation, or you can wait for weakness and then try to get in a break of structure. But yeah, as I said, you want your clean setups. If it's not clean, then you can better wait for the people that are now FOMOing in, for them to get stopped out if we take out this low, and then just play your range again. What would invalidate this idea is that if we start pushing above here, then this was one crazy shakeout, but I don't deem that very likely. I'm pretty sure that we will see rejection here. Maybe in the most painful scenario, we wick above this supply and above this trend line, then everyone becomes bullish, and that's where you reject. Often the most painful is what happens. And then overall, I'm leaning towards us creating that range right here. See something like a accumulation right here, and then if we break above here, then I'm still hoping that we have that early month low, which I have been hoping for, which can either be this low, which is on 5th of June, it was yesterday, or we create a new low here or here. But in 100% of the monthly candles, the low, or at least the P1 of the month, get put in the first 15 days. So as data is now, we can see that our monthly high is this high and our monthly low is this low. So you can basically place your bets on which low is gonna hold, or which one is gonna hold, and then you can expect we get a bearish month or a bullish month. For now, I'm leaning towards a bullish month, but yeah, as said, we need confirmations, and for now it's gonna take a while. I think I will not FOMO in here, not in shorts, not in longs. Just wait. You can always take your scalps, of course. So that's the overall bigger plan for BTC. Here we have that massive imbalance, so we can also take out this low again, move a bit lower, tap into that imbalance, then get your break, and then get into longs. However, the way we are going down with this trend line tells me that we will sooner or later revisit these levels, potentially make new highs. So yeah, that's my view on BTC. Let's quickly go over some other altcoins, because we are at pretty interesting levels. ETH, we had a massive pump here, and then since then prices been ranging, not doing a lot. We had that little sweep here of liquidity, which was like a tiny distribution. Then price broke down, took all this liquidity that was built up, and now we are seeing a relief bounce. However, here as well, after a massive move down, you often get that retrace, but eventually you always get your range. So maybe this is your range, your new range, and this was actually the low, or you make a high, take out the low, and then that's the range you can play. Overall, this is strong supply right now, and yeah, best case would be to look for longs if we take out this bigger range low, accumulate there, and then push up. Also here, the invalidation would be if we start pushing above that supply, but I don't think that's very likely right now. We had a strong move down, so overall expectation is to get a lower high for a lower low. So that's the plan for ETH. Sol, let's zoom out a bit. We had, if we look at the 3-day, then our structure is this. So here we have a lot of liquidity resting below this low, and this low just not got taken. So what I would like to see is that we take that low, and then if we start to form a range, then I'm also interested in longs to take it up to here, and into that supply. Overall, not looking too bad, but it needs more time. Don't FOMO into any positions right here, because this is not how you form a good bottom. People might FOMO in, maybe if we go higher, people will FOMO in, but almost always you revisit it, and then yeah, with time, with some patience, everything will be clear. And as I said, many people are putting up their leverage, they're tightening their stop losses to make back their losses, or they feel like they missed out on something, so they now want to compensate that by getting into positions, but don't do that, because oftentimes after these moves you get your range and people just get burned till they're they lost their money, and then a range forms, and then the ones that are patient are the ones that benefit from that. So looking at this liquidity right here, and yeah, just patience. Sui took all this liquidity right here, then we had a weak bounce where we also had like a local distribution, went down, and now we tapped into this liquidity right here. But overall, I'm also expecting that here we might go a bit higher, but we overall maybe get a accumulation right here, because on the high time frame this is a very clean level with yeah, this gray area. I'm looking for a tap into that, and then if you look at the structure, which is from just roughly around like this, you don't bounce like this, or they have yeah, something very weird going on. But oftentimes you just need your sideways price action from where you can accumulate, and then you get your push. So also here, no hurry, but I'm leaning towards some interesting price action over the coming weeks. So exciting times. DOGE, heavy move down, probably has to do with the beef between Trump and Elon, which is something, yeah, what the fuck is happening there. But we are reaching this demand zone from where the heavy latest push appeared. So that's an interesting level to watch. It's also the point of control of this former range before we pushed up. So also here the structure is heavily down. So you at least need to break that structure to become bullish, but overall here you also want to see maybe you get that push, but then overall get a range and then play that range to ride it up. Because also here, just looking at the structure, this is not gonna pump out of nowhere here and then go to the highs. That's structure-wise not likely. So you probably get some sideways and then later up. We could also just continue lower, of course, towards these liquidity levels and these, but yeah, I feel like you should start to hold around here, because if you fall below this impulse, then it's quite bearish, and then we can revisit those lows again as well. FARTCOIN took a lot of liquidity below this major wick. Price tapped into a demand right there. I think it was clean 4 hour, no, yeah, good looking 3 hour demand. Price tapped into it and bounced, and right now we are nearing a potential resistance zone where we have this downtrend here, and then in this leg we also have the local distribution, which makes it even stronger. So overall expectation could be that we have a lower high here and continue lower towards the liquidity levels resting below this wick, and then all this liquidity here, even this wick, and then tap that high time frame demand where we have yeah, very good looking demand right here. with a clean fair value gap above it. So that's a level for high time frame to be interested in. So on the low time frame, what I'm looking at is that we take out this liquidity where we have that move down, and then here have a little liquidity curve, that we take that out, maybe tap into this supply and then distribute, which could let's see, something like this, and then ride it lower towards, let's see, yeah, like this is also not how you form a good bottom. So I would be looking at this supply for potential short. Let's see on the low time frame if it's looking quite strong for now with this liquidity build up. But yeah, maybe you can push up a bit higher. That is your tap 2. Go higher, tap 3, and then break structure. Target here, and then also lower. I believe they got listed on Coinbase, or they will be listed on Coinbase. So that's why they yesterday moved up while the rest of the market was still moving down. So that. And then we have hype still in this high time frame range. We came into supply right here, rejected, broke structure, and tapped into demand right here. Also here I have a trend line, don't look at them, but when they're obvious, I like to just have them on my chart, because a lot of people will become very bullish here. Well, if we break the trend line, then we go back to the highs. But we have supply right here. I think it's, yeah, a good looking 45-minute supply. Then here we have a local kind of range. You can say it's a bit weird. You can say that this is your tap 1, your tap 2, and then maybe if we get into here, tap into that supply, come to the trend line, it can also offer a short to look at these levels again. Are there other charts I want to mention? But really, we have USDT dominance. Talked about this one a lot, where we had this range where we first deviated the highs, then we took out the range lows. Here we also had a clean accumulation, reclaimed the range, had a range reclaim, and then pushed up, took out the highs, and here we actually, let me delete this for a moment. Here I said this looked pretty strong with these highs building up, which is liquidity, and then here we had like a rounded bottom, started to push up into this obvious supply level, where we also had a distribution, have pretty heavy rejection right now. So what I'm looking at is that we, as I just drawn, if we take this consolidation, then we have the point of control in the value area high here, which align with a little demand zone. So overall you would expect this to continue, at least that's the overall expectation. But yeah, the rejection is already pretty heavy. So we're gonna have to see if we see a continued weakness, which would be actually pretty good for Bitcoin. But as Bitcoin now looks, as I said, the most likely is that we form a lower high here. So then I'm looking for USDT to get that bounce here soonish. And then we have to see if we maybe take out the high and then get a distribution right here, which would align with that Bitcoin accumulation I'm looking at right here. And then all in all, that would be a very clean play. I have to see how it plays out. If, for example, yeah, it would surprise me, but if we just invalidate, we tap very deep into this left behind demand and then get a bounce, then it could be that that's the lower high already and that we go lower again. But yeah, so far I'm not really expecting it. Also because the only coin that is really strong bouncing is Bitcoin for now, and altcoins are lagging behind. So it feels like this is more of a squeeze, and that we soon get that range as explained. Anything other to mention? Not really. Statistics for today, quickly look. Yeah, we created our low, which we often do at, or at least our first pivot here at hour 0. Since then we moved up. So for the day, this is a strong pivot. Hour 10 is not that strong. So if you are looking for rejection, it is most likely that that will happen between hour 12 and around hour 15 to right here and like here. Between this zone, it's most likely to put in your daily high if your daily low, which is here, P1 is very strong. So then if you want to play the reversal, the highest probability to catch the top is to wait for a high to be put in during this time zone. And if you then break your structure, you could take a shot at a short with your inflation right there. That's actually what happened yesterday, very clean. That's the last thing before. I'm not sure how long this video already is, but probably it's again going towards the longer side. But yeah, I hope it's valuable, so then it doesn't matter a lot. Yesterday we had, as I said, we broke lower, broke structure right here, and we got that retrace. Here we had some ranging price action, and then we had a New York open pump where we took out some liquidity, and this was in the New York session. So if we zoom in some more, here you can see that this high, here we broke lower, and from that moment this was a very strong daily and session high, and then we actually broke this structure as well, got the retrace, and on that retrace it showed that lower for the day and for the session was the most likely outcome, and that this high was a very strong high. So here you could take shorts, inflation above that high, and then in this case it would have been a banger of a trade, reaching this low right here. So that's all happening in the New York session, and yeah, most action happens during New York, so that's the time we want to be active. I have an alert here in the supply, putting it a little higher. So yeah, that are my plans, things I'm watching. Hope you liked it again, and already wishing you a good weekend. Cheers.